Hey, I'm Kurt. Welcome to another episode of Fun Space Facts with Kurt. These videos are my attempt at short and sweet and simple explanations about some possibly complex space topics. In this episode, we answer the question, why are we going to the moon? Again. Well, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard that NASA has a giant new moon rocket called SLS, or Space Launch System. And you've probably also heard that NASA is planning on landing astronauts on the surface of the moon in the next couple of years. NASA's new human lunar program is called Artemis, which is pretty cool because in Greek mythology, Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo. But some of you may be asking, why are we going to the moon again? Didn't we already do that? What is the benefit of going there again? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is true that it would be silly and also a waste of tax dollars to do the same thing that we did before. So NASA is not doing the same thing that we did before. The Apollo lunar missions all landed near the middle or the waistband of the moon, near the moon's equator. But Artemis lunar missions will all land near the south pole of the moon, which is pretty exciting because the landscape and the geology and the mineralogy and the history of the South Polar region, we think, is going to be different than what we experienced at the equator. Also, the Apollo missions were all short camping trips to the lunar surface. And just like most camping trips here on Earth, the Apollo astronauts brought everything they needed for their short stay along with them. But Artemis missions will quickly evolve into long-term, sustained surface stays, where the crews will live off the land and they will use resources that are found on the moon, which will lower the frequency of uncrewed logistics support flights. This fact often surprises a lot of people because the moon doesn't really look like a place that's rich in resources. But it turns out that there are some really precious resources hidden on the moon. And there are even some precious resources hidden in plain sight on the moon. Just a few feet below the surface of the moon, in certain places, are large, lake-sized sheets of frozen water. Once collected, this moon water can be filtered and used for drinking water. And it can be used to water the moon crops in our lunar greenhouses. Also, water can be pretty easily split up into its parent molecules, hydrogen and oxygen. And the oxygen can be used for breathing air. And both the hydrogen and the oxygen can be compressed into their super cold liquid forms, and they can be used to fuel and to power our moon rockets that need to leave the lunar surface, like our end-of-mission crew return vehicles, or vehicles that need to fly long distances between two different lunar work sites. In addition to the frozen water resource that's hiding just beneath the lunar surface, nearly the entire surface of the moon is covered in several meters worth of crushed volcanic rock dust. And it turns out that lots of smart and creative scientists and engineers here on Earth have been working on ways to use that resource as a building material for moon garages, lunar roads, and landing pads. It just so happens that a lot of techniques and technologies that we end up developing and testing and maturing on the moon to allow us to live off the land and to live and work there for months or even years at a time there, many of those technologies and techniques will also work on the surface of Mars. So yes, we are going back to the moon, but our goal is ultimately to live and work and explore on the surface of Mars. We're basically using the moon as a stepping stone on our way to Mars. Well, that does it for another episode of Fun Space Facts with Kurt. Thanks for your interest and for watching. Stay tuned to this channel for more episodes in the near future. Bye!